what?
What?
And it's at that time that she drops her hands down and clearly states,
I killed that little girl that night, didn't I, baby?
That moment, I'll never forget it. I've taken other confessions on very serious crimes, and usually the response is absolute elation. But I remember sitting across from her and looking at her and having the realization at that moment that I was looking into the eyes of the devil, except for he was in Nicole Frederick's body.
Lieutenant Loria obtained Nicole Frederick's confession after a 6-hour interrogation over 2 days. The taped confession was shown at her trial, along with evidence from the family home. Frederick was found guilty of the murder of her stepdaughter, Anne Marie Shawley, and sentenced to life imprisonment. Lieutenant Loria and Detective Woods achieved their results in the interrogation room without resorting to strongly coercive methods. But their approach is by no means universal. Highly coercive methods are applied to suspects in criminal interrogations. The danger of this is that it can lead to false confessions.
Most people like to think that there is no such thing as a false confession, that someone would never confess to the crime they didn't commit. They themselves believe that they never could be forced to confess to something they didn't really do. Yet evidence shows, under the right conditions, people will make false confessions.
In January 1988, a 12-year-old girl, Stephanie Crow, was killed in her own bedroom in the middle of the night. Her brother, Michael Crow, was interrogated by the police. They believed he had killed his sister.
Just start talking.
He was interrogated and eventually admitted to the crime.
It's like I have this overwhelming feeling that I killed her, but
okay, let's hear. Let me hear about it.
I don't know why I feel that way.
Let me hear about it.
All I know is for some reason I can tell I killed her.
He was charged with Stephanie Crow's murder. Problem was, the confession was false.
I don't know.
Dr. Richard Leo of the University of San Francisco has carried out extensive research into false confessions.
We have in the United States right now over 200 DNA exonerations. Exonerated indisputably by science. 15 to 20% of those DNA exonerations involve false confessions. We have several hundred other cases where we know the person falsely confessed.
You said the last time you saw John...
So why would someone risk ruining the rest of their life by confessing to a crime they didn't commit?
Most people have the perception that a police interrogation is a highly intense, very emotional, confrontational type of interview. But in fact, the more productive interview is not of that form. More often than not, an interrogator who's using the accusatory style has already developed a preconception before he comes into the interview room. And what he does is uses that narrow vision and begins to attack his subject.
There has to be an explanation.
I don't know.
The interrogation of Michael Crow was highly coercive and confrontational.
Just tell us what happened. You keep asking me questions I can't answer. What do you want me to do?
Michael Crow is 14 years old, and he's recently learned that his sister, who he loves dearly, is dead.
I haven't lied to you.
He's told them repeatedly he didn't do this. They keep accusing him. They've been in this room with him for many hours.
The detective tells Crow he has a choice of 2 paths. If he doesn't confess, he'll be punished in an adult prison. If he does confess, he will get help. This is a lie.
There's 2 paths to travel. There's the path of punishment, or there's the path that says, hey, I'm sorry for what I did.
There's the path toward rehabilitation. If he makes the confession they're looking for, that he killed his sister.
Because we need to go down a path where we're going to help you work this problem out.
And his repentance will mean that he's not criminally charged or punished. If he doesn't, then he will go to a hardcore juvenile prison.
Have you ever seen a prison yard? Have you heard of one?
No.
I've been there. Okay? You shower. You take a crap. You take a leak in the presence of hundreds of other people who you don't know from Adam. Okay? You do some things that Some of your most private and intimate things are going to be done in front of prison guards.
This two paths lie is an attempt to force Crow into confessing to the murder of his sister. Lies used in this highly coercive manner increase the risk of a suspect making a false confession. Another common tactic used in coercive interrogations is a sustained attack on a suspect's memory.
I don't remember what I did. I've tried to tell you. You say I did it.
He's trying to tell them he has no memory, but they've beaten him down. He's crying. They're accusing him of selective memory.
If you selectively remember what you want the system to hear, the system isn't going to be that kind.
He's at a point of hopelessness,
I don't know.
and they're just coming back at him relentlessly.
I can't remember means I can't remember. I can't remember selectively is a little bit different.
And here they're trying to explain to him how he could have done this in the absence of having any memory, because he keeps saying, I didn't do it, I don't have any memory of this.
I just don't know.
And so they're coming up with this multiple personality theory.
I kind of think there's two parts to Michael.
There's a good Michael and there's a bad Michael. And the good Michael would never hurt or kill his sister. The bad Michael did it out of conscious awareness.
You're right, it's unconscious, but if I'm the good Michael right now, then the other is completely submerged. I can't remember.
What's really going on, though, here is that this is nothing short of child abuse. And he's having a breakdown. He's crying. He is psychologically tortured. This is a painful scene to watch. This is an egregious interrogation, absolutely awful interrogation.
The detective's highly coercive methods used during a 10-hour interrogation finally wear Crow down. He confesses to a crime he didn't commit.
Got a knife. Went into a room. Then I stabbed him.
These methods work on adults as well as children and lead to false confessions.
The confession is a piece of evidence that needs to be scrutinized as carefully as any other piece of evidence, and unless it can be verified and corroborated, it's not reliable. It shouldn't be considered reliable.
Fortunately for Michael Crow, evidence was found that exonerated him for the murder of his sister. Traces of her blood were found on the clothes of Richard Tuitt, a drifter who was spotted in the area the night of the murder. He was convicted of the murder of Stephanie Crow. Despite the best attempts of law enforcement, sometimes the guilty are not exposed in an interrogation, and sometimes the innocent are wrongly convicted. For this reason, there has always been the search for a foolproof method of detecting deception.
For many decades, man has been trying to find ways to employ technology as a tool to spot deception. This has been the holy grail of the science of interrogation.
The first lie detection technology to be invented was the polygraph in 1917. It measures changes in physiology which are caused by the stress of lying. The ability of the polygraph